The internet is back, you guys. I'm gonna continue the stream from earlier. Just in life in China now, people are lining up to take daily routine COVID tests under police supervision. Health authorities are now carrying some serious weapons just in case um, some dissidents have the wise idea to start a protest or something like that. China has 100 million people now back in lockdown. QR codes turn red by the state to prevent any movement, lest it be transported to one of thousands of quarantine camps they've built, like this one pictured here. This is where political descendants will go, or dissidents, sorry. Also, with just people protesting and such, their QR codes will turn red, and they will be rounded up and put into these camps. If you want to call them concentration camps, you could call them that. Klaus Schwab, leader of the World Economic Forum, says China is a role model for many nations and proclaims systemic transformation of the world on Chinese state-run media.
20, you were there meeting some of the leaders as well. Professor Schwab, what do you make of the result? Finally, they put something as a statement, and it seems quite positive with all the voices included.
I think it's positive. It's already positive through the fact that everybody agreed about the statement, which we haven't had the last years. Now the base has been formed, but we have to go one step further. We have to have a strategic mood. We have to construct the world of tomorrow. It's a systemic transformation of the world. So we have to define how the world should look like, which we want to come out of this transformation period. I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. I think it's a role model for many countries, but I think also we should leave it to each country to make its own decision what system it wants to adopt. And I think we should be very careful in imposing systems. But the Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for quite a number of countries.
So interesting that he talks about how we shouldn't force other countries to follow a different model, even though that is exactly what he's doing via his organization, World Economic Forum, essentially um, putting people in power that will do their bidding. He's sending a mixed message there, but nonetheless, he supports China. He sees them as a role model. He claims that more countries should be like China with the way they handle the pandemic and such. Basically, talking about medical tyranny, medical authoritarianism, basically locking up people that test positive, locking up people who refuse to take medical procedures. Very disgusting behavior. Nonetheless, he's the head of WEF, and he's major support of China and the policies they've taken surrounding COVID. James Melville says Sweden had no lockdowns, no school closures, no mask mandates. Sweden had the lowest overall cumulative excess deaths in countries analyzed by the OECD during the pandemic era from March 2020 to June 2022. This is a country that's doing it right, and China is certainly one who's doing it wrong. I mean, look at what a failure their zero COVID policy is. Japan looks to be coming out of the COVID pandemic pretty well, too. Japan drops vax rollout, goes to ivermectin, ends COVID almost overnight. The ongoing COVID 19 nonsense here in the United States exists solely and exclusively because our governments have failed to use the correct treatment. They use so called vaccines, when Japan has just proven in less than 1 month that ivermectin can wipe out the disease. I wonder how they went about administering the ivermectin. Were they mailed directly to citizens? Do they have to go to pharmacy, pick it up? Kind of curious as to the rollout of the ivermectin across Japan, but good on the Japanese from not following the science or the money mandated science. Here we have Stephen Kirsch arguing there are two peaks of vaccine related mortality, one within weeks of vaccination, one about 5 to 6 months after vaccination. He says there's a big spike in vaccination in April and there's a big spike in deaths in September. He's drawing a distinction, he's drawing a correlation between the two. In other news, Pfizer CEO has been wrapped by the UK's pharmaceutical watchdog for making disgracefully misleading statements from children's mRNA vaccines. Yeah, this guy needs to go to prison, like ASAP. I don't know what he's doing out and about, telling people how many medical procedures they should take. He must be friends with him. Klaus Schwab discusses the European Chips Act with Ursula von der
Thank you very
Leyen,
much, Madam
an
President.
important step to create the
Ursula,
physical brain for
what
digitization.
speech, I mean, comprising so many such important issues. I just would like to highlight what you said about the European Chips Act, because it's a very important step to create the physical brain for digitalization and to have it located to a certain extent in Europe.
Yeah, not about it, Klaus. Klaus. Fact checkers, it's conspiracy that central bankers want to control you with CBDCs. Well, here we go.
Now, in all our analysis on CBDC, in particular for the use of general use, we tend to establish the equivalence with cash. And there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
Another thing to consider is these CBDCs that they might be rolling out here in the next year or two is the fact that another interesting thing about them is that they may have expiration dates. So you may have CBDCs that are only good up until the end of the month, and you need to spend all the CBDCs, or your account gets drained of those funds that expired. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but you could totally see something like that playing out here in the next few years as more and more countries adopt CBDCs. Elections in India, they have one day to vote. There's over 620 million votes casted. Photo ID is required. The results of the election are known in hours. The U.S. should learn from them. Pretty weird stuff. How in the U.S. we can't come up with 200 million ballots or whatever in a single day, but India, a country with over 3x the population, can do it. Weird how that works, huh? Recession? What recession? Google's preparing to lay off 10,000 poor performing employees, report says. Managers asked to categorize 6% of Alphabet's workforce as poor performers. Massive layoffs coming across the board, not only with just Google, but we have layoffs from Twitter, 75% of employees being laid off. Meta is going to have 11,000 employees laid off. Amazon, over 10,000 employees laying off. HP, over 6,000 employees. Robinhood, over 30% employees will be laid off. Intel, over 20%. Snapchat over 20%. Apple experiencing a hiring freeze. Corporations are signaling recession. It's on the wall, you guys. Italy's largest refinery can't fund alternatives to Russian oil. Germany's natural gas storage begins to fall. Again, with the winter on the horizon, this is not good to hear or see both of these things, but they're happening nonetheless. Europe accusing the U.S. of profiting from war. Um, how would you describe that exactly? How are we profiting from the war? I don't want to get into it. I think we definitely are profiting from the war, in my opinion. I'm going to make this quick and brief, but essentially, a proxy war in Ukraine is essentially to stranglehold Russia's hold on Europe via oil and basically make the Europeans buy our oil instead of theirs. That's my understanding of the logistics of the conflict at hand, the proxy war over in Ukraine. This shortage is more serious than most realize. Farmers can't make a profit on their winter crops and some can't even get diesel to harvest. Troubling times ahead. Oklahoman farmers now facing diesel shortage. U.S. Treasury authorizing Chevron to resume pumping oil in Venezuela. So that guy Maduro that we tried to take out just this past year or two, essentially we're shaking hands with him. John Kerry is actually pictured slash filmed shaking hands with Maduro. And Maduro comes off very surprised. He's like, "You guys wanted me dead. What gives?" And U.S. basically taking a few steps back and saying, "Oh yeah, well, it was a complete mix-up. We actually need you for oil, so can we just make some deals? Some business deals." um, it's they're trying to kill the guy 1 minute, then they're trying to shake hands with him. It's kind of like not too far off with what happened with Osama bin Laden and such. CIA was friends with him. And then when it became politically convenient, they severed ties and made him an enemy of the state. But yeah, not saying those people are good people. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I think it's interesting how we are very two-faced when it comes to things like this. Anyways, I'll leave you guys with this. Ledger, to my knowledge, is still running their Black Friday Bitcoin promotion, or sorry, their Black Friday 10% off on all their cold storage wallets. I did scoop one the other day when they had Bitcoin gift cards uh, that were up to $30 worth. I just viewed that as, hey, if you buy the Ledger Nano S or whatever, the smaller device of the two, it's $80 after taxes, like $90. You get $30 in Bitcoin. The promo no longer stands, but I looked at it like that $30 as cash back, but in Bitcoin, kind of a no brainer. But not financial advice, but maybe something you guys may want to look into, getting those cryptocurrencies off of the exchange. Remember, not your keys, not your crypto. But that about does it for today's stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Please share. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live next. I will see you guys all tomorrow, I believe, 9:15 a.m. I think that's the new starting time because we did 9:30 and the stream shut off right around 9:47. Weirdly, it was a little bit earlier today, but yeah, 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you guys missed the first part, go check it out on the channel at